Welcome to Death Week. Now I know that sounds scary, but this is a death we want to welcome into our lives because it's going to allow us to step in to our light. We have 4 things going on this week that are helping this energy come through for us. Scorpio season is in full force now. We are no longer on the cusp, we are in it. Scorpio energy makes us go deep. It makes us see our shadow. It shines a light on the depths of our soul. It's a deep energy, and it's going to help us get to this new life. We have Samhain, Halloween, October 31st. It is the day of the last harvest. It's the last day of the year. For most of the ancient cultures, it was. Still today, it is celebrated as the last day of the year. Not only the death of the earth that year, but we celebrate, we remember our passed on loved ones. I put pictures of them up on my mantle and light a candle for them on October 31st. Which brings us to November 1st, which is the first day of the new year. It brings new life, a new beginning for the earth, but also for us. And what better way to bring in the new year, but with a new moon? This is no coincidence. This is synchronicity at its finest, and it is here to help us walk forward and step into that new light. And there are 3 things that I want you to know that can help you this week using the Earth's energy. The first thing is, don't be afraid. Do not fear this death. Walk into it full of hope. If you ever practice tarot, the Fool card is kind of the Fool card. It's not like you're being foolish walking forward. No, it's a little bit naive. It's a little bit, I don't know what to expect, but you know that calling is there. You know you're supposed to be stepping into something, some kind of work. And if you're already in that work, but you're not taking enough risk, this is your call to take some risk. Walk forward, just like the Fool. I had a dream last night about a Silkie. If you don't know what a Silkie is, it's a mythical creature. They're real though. I believe they're real anyway, from Ireland and Scotland. They are seals that can take human form by shedding their skin. In this dream, I was standing by the ocean and I was looking out and I wanted to go in, but I was afraid. I was afraid of sharks. So I was just standing there, fearing sharks, not making a move. And then a group of seals came up to the surface. And all of a sudden I was like afraid for the seals. And then a woman came up and I was like, wait a second, that's not a woman, that's a Silkie. She looked like a woman, but she had like, her eyes kind of gave it away, were very seal-like. And she was beautiful, beautiful young woman. And I was all of a sudden afraid that a shark was going to attack the seals or the Silkie. And I started to see a shark fin coming up. And I was like, oh no, it's going to get one of them. And then the Silkie, like telepathically spoke to me. She said, stop fearing the sharks. Your thoughts are affecting us. And I was like, okay. So I just started thinking of her and her beauty and the seals and how playful they were being, and I didn't want to hurt them. So I just started thinking of them, focusing on them. And the shark fin went away and the shark disappeared. And I was like, whoa. First of all, I've never had an experience with a Silkie, so that was really cool. And secondly, that message to me is so profound. It's about our fear. And if we give into the fear, we can literally create these situations happening to us, whatever we're fearing. But if we just allow the experience to be exactly what it is, all I saw in that ocean were seals and a Silkie. And yet my fear mind kept taking over and thinking of a shark. And she was like, there will be no shark if you don't think of a shark, you know? How profound is that? So pay attention to your fear mind, your thoughts. Do not let them get away from you. Think of what actually is. what actually is there, and don't give in to the fear this week. The second thing I want you to focus on this week is your shadow. Scorpio energy is so good at shining a bright light on our shadow. And what happens when you shine a light on a shadow? It disappears. So bring a light to the things that are inward that you're hiding, and don't judge them. If you think, oh, I can't show this, I can't bring this out because it's bad. Try not to have a judgment on it. I don't mean act on your shadow, because there's a lot of things in our shadow we should not act on. But get it out of you, whether that's journaling, talking to a friend or a counselor. Get it out of you, screaming into a pillow. And then you can get to the root of these things. And when you can get to the root of them, you can start to process them, and they slowly go away and they don't live inside here anymore. And there's some things in our shadow, because not all of it is good or bad or we shouldn't act. Some things we should act on. Sometimes we're hiding talents. We're hiding passions. Scorpio is so good at getting that passion out. And the new moon is on Friday this week. And Fridays are really good, are ruled by Venus, and they're really good at getting our passions, our love interest out. Maybe this is an art form like a musical talent. Maybe you like to sing. Maybe you like to paint. So do those things. And I don't mean you have to get on a stage or you have to post it online, but get it out of your body and do it for yourself at the very least. The last thing is death. Now, I do not mean physical death. Do not get me wrong here. I'm talking about an egoic death. When we can release our ego, we can step into our new path, following our light, following the divine, our purpose. But we first have to have that egoic death. When I was going through the height of my spiritual awakening, I was mourning the work I was doing before. I felt like I had a name. I felt it made me feel special. I had millions of views online, and those things were I held on to those things like they were so important to me, and they made me feel important. And here I was going through a spiritual awakening where I could not do what I was doing before. I kept trying, and it just was not working. And there was nothing. All those things that were important to me before were not important to me anymore. Instead of going out every night and drinking and, making new work relationships and carrying on, I was doing comedy, I was acting, I was doing all these things, and they were lighting me up, but I was very depressed while doing them. I was I was clinically depressed at the time and suicidal. It was not lighting up my soul. It was lighting up my ego. And so I had to go through this egoic death, and it was very, very hard. I was walking through this graveyard, and I sat down on a step to catch my breath, because along with all these spiritual symptoms, I was having a lot of physical symptoms that went through this really intense time of my spiritual awakening. I was catching my breath, and I looked up, and right in front of me was a tombstone with my name on it. I kid you not. It was my first initial, my middle initial, and it was my last name. I couldn't believe it. I was in shock, and I don't have a common last name. And my my initials aren't common either. So it made me take a step back for sure. And I was like, oh my God, am I going to die? Because at the time I felt like I was going to die because I kept having these really awful symptoms, like physical symptoms. And I remember on October 31st, I just felt this calling, like, I'm going to die. This is it. This is October 31st. And my fear mind was like, does it mean physical death? And my rational or my spiritual mind was saying, no, this is a death, but I'm not exactly sure what that means yet. But I know something inside of me is dying. So on October 31st, I decided to do a rebirth ceremony. And I did. I was really shook up from this graveyard experience. And I knew it was coming before then, but seeing that gravestone really put it into me, yeah, you're going to die. And so on October 31st, I did this rebirth ceremony. And honestly, I was so scared that night. I did not know if I was going to wake up, at all. And I even told my brother, I was like, hey, could you check on me in the morning and come get Easton if I don't answer? I was like, I was scared. And when I woke up the next morning, I felt so new. And there was still a lot of work I had to do. It wasn't like bam and it was done. Like I still to this day have to work every day, fight for this new life of mine. And I second guess it. I have fears about it. I have limiting beliefs about it. And I have to fight those every day. Because the bottom line, when I'm not listening to my fear mind or my ego, is this what I'm doing right now, talking to you about this stuff, connecting to the earth, connecting to the divine, connecting to Silkies. I feel lit up. I know this is my calling. And I want that for you. And I know that that is out there for you. And I'm not saying to quit your job and have a rebirth ceremony unless you feel called to do that. But I am saying that this is out there for you. And you can take steps and use the energy this week to bring a little bit of that into your life. I wish the best for you this week. And don't be afraid. Allow this energy to be what it is for you this week. Look at your shadow. Ask it what it needs to tell you. And don't be afraid of just a little piece of your ego dying this week. Just a little bit of your ego dying can make a huge difference in your life. Thank you so much for joining me. Wherever you're at on this planet, peace to you.